An illegal alien from Cuba that was released into the United States in 2012 was convicted of murder earlier this year. He murdered and beheaded his girlfriend. Her name, America Mafalda Thea. Of course, full condolences to all family and friends of the victim. So the scumbag in question was convicted of murder earlier this year, but he's now been found not guilty. Doesn't make a great deal of sense to me, but a judge has made a ruling in regards to the scumbag's mental health. He's been deemed mentally incompetent, and with that, he has been found not guilty. So we'll go through a few more details. The scumbag in question, his name Alexis Saborit-Viltres. He was originally arrested and charged with second-degree murder in 2021 after being accused of beheading his girlfriend, 55-year-old America Mafalda Thea. He then dumped her body on the street. Several people witnessed the attack. It happened in Shakopee in Minnesota. Absolutely gruesome. It happened in broad daylight. One of the witnesses saw the murderer pull his girlfriend, America Mafalda Thea, out of her car. He then picked her head up by her hair before decapitating her. Absolutely horrific, absolutely brutal. Again, this happened in broad daylight. Why did this horrific, brutal murder occur? Well, because the victim, America, who changed her name to America because she was celebrating the fact that she became a naturalized American citizen. She was happy to be in America. And she had told the psychopathic murderer that she wanted to leave him. And the psychopath wasn't happy with that. The psychopath, Alexis Saborit-Viltres, was unable to process the fact that his partner, his girlfriend, didn't want to have anything to do with him. So he got a machete, dragged her out of the car by her hair, and proceeded to decapitate her. So the murderer was found guilty of first-degree premeditated murder in May of this year, but on Monday, a judge made the ruling about his mental competency. The judge cited psychologists who determined that the murderer's mental illness prevented him from understanding his actions were morally wrong. Okay, so I'm going to comment on that. So I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a leading expert, but I do have to call that into question. That makes zero sense to me. We're being told by the experts that this psychopathic murderer didn't understand that his actions, which included decapitating his girlfriend, he didn't understand that was a morally wrong action. Why are we using the word moral or morally? Why are we using that word? Does it matter? It just seems like a little bit of potential obfuscation. You cannot tell me that this guy didn't know that he was doing a bad thing. There is no way you can say that. Mad as a hatter, yes. I'll give you that, psychologists. Required to stay in a mental institution, sure, I have no problem with that. But why are we pretending that his mental illness stopped him from knowing what he was doing was wrong? I don't believe that for a second. So we are told a little bit of a background in regards to the murderer's mental health history. He was hospitalized in 2013 for bizarre delusions. He had a car crash in 2017, which led to a traumatic brain injury, at which point he began having hallucinations. In May 2020, he was hospitalized because he believed there was a camera in his head following the crash in 2017. So again, I have no question the guy is mentally deranged, severely mentally ill. Sure, he performed those actions because he did know they were wrong. He was wanting, at that point in time, deranged or not, he was wanting to cause harm and death. He understands those concepts. 2-year-olds understand those concepts, or maybe that's not quite right. Certainly young children understand those concepts. He knew what he was doing. We're not told within the one article that I've read through what's going to happen with his incarceration. So if he was found guilty, which he was, he would have been facing life in prison, which is the right sentence. But at this point, this article isn't telling us what's going to happen now. So the guilty verdict has been revoked. The judge himself revoked the guilty verdict. I've got to presume and hope that he will be held indefinitely in a mental institution, which I have no significant issue with. A mental health institution, I believe, is going to have the right resources, certainly the better resources, to be able to deal with him. Resources including staff with the appropriate training, access to medication, these types of things, additional security perhaps. I'm not under the impression that being in a mental health institution is a walk in the park. It is punishment. And I do hope that he remains incarcerated either in a mental health institution or a jail, a prison, for the rest of his life. So even if he does make psychological improvements, if he is deemed to be no longer suffering delusions, suffering mental illness, he still needs to be locked up, taken away from society. I'm going to wrap things up at this point. Of course, full condolences to the family and friends of the victim. 55-year-old America Mafalda Thayer, murdered in 2021 brutally by her own boyfriend that she was trying to leave. So it is a shame. I do think that the victim was doing the right thing in leaving her partner. Seemingly she identified that he's mad as a hatter, violent. She was doing the right thing by ending the relationship, but it is seemingly so unfortunate that quite often when partners, I'll say women, but I'm sure it applies to men too, but certainly when women do the right thing, when they do try or they do actually end a relationship with somebody that they feel is a danger to them or perhaps their children, they're doing the right thing, but that seems to be a catalyst for an extremely violent reaction by the spurned partner. It's a real shame. I don't know what the answer is. Perhaps being in a relationship with a violent partner is more precarious than I realize. Even when you try to leave, you can be putting yourself and others in danger. Kind of a lose-lose situation. So ladies, try to avoid these people in the first instance as best you can. Try to pick your partners more responsibly. I don't mean to overly victim blame in this case, but I'm going to wrap things up at this point. If you do appreciate the coverage, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and take care.